When I was 22 years old, I had a stroke, which left me paralyzed. Now, I'm not here today to tell you a sob story about how hard it was to recover from that. I want to tell you how having a stroke and becoming paralyzed from the left-hand side down led me to live my life to my full potential and unlock peak performance. You see, when you have a stroke, you lose your ability to walk, to talk, to express yourself, to gesture. You lose your ability to get dressed in the morning, to eat, to feed yourself, to drink. You lose your ability to go to work, hang out with friends, do your hobbies. Anything that makes you you falls away. And then there's only one thing left: your inner self. After these 18 minutes today, you're going to think very differently around who you are and the opportunities that you're currently missing out on, and how to unlock that full potential. In order to start that journey, I want to ask you a very simple question. Who are you? Think about that for a second. If I had to invite you up here on this stage today, on this red dot, and you had 1 minute to explain who you are, what would you say? Because I can guarantee you it will something around the lines of this. Good afternoon. My name is Pascalle. I'm the founder and director of PresenTales, and I help people with their public speaking and storytelling skills. When I'm not working, I'm a dog mom to Herbert and Archie and the wife of Chris. I'm originally from the Netherlands, that's the accent that you're hearing, and I moved to the UK 7 years ago to continue my career on the West End in musical theatre. In my spare time, I like to paint, I like to make music, I like to go for hikes, and I like to cook. And in general, I think I'm quite a nice person. I can be a little bit direct, which is the Dutchness coming through, but overall, I don't take life too seriously. Show of hands, who would have said something along the lines of their job, what they do, what they like to do, and effectively just describe themselves, right? Is that really who you are? Or is that who the world has created you to be? Is that authentically you? Authenticity is a funny thing, isn't it? It's something that we hear all the time, everywhere. And we're so sick of hearing it because we don't really know what it means to be authentic. I'm going to try and answer that question for you today. If we want to learn about what authenticity means, we need to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs looks at human motivation, everything that we need as human beings to survive and thrive. For example, at the bottom, we see our physiological needs. We need water, we need food, we need shelter, we need sunlight. We also see things like connection. We need family, we need friends, we need a partner, we need other people. Further up, we also see things like self-esteem. We need confidence, we need to feel valued, we need to feel respected. But all the way at the top, you see self-actualization. Self-actualization means to live your life to your full potential, becoming everything that you are capable of becoming. There's the crux. Everything that you are capable of becoming, unlocking all the opportunities that you have no idea are currently there. Self-actualization will look very different in different people. For me, it might look like running a multi-million-dollar business. For you, it might look like traveling the world. And that's okay. And that's why it's so hard to pinpoint what authenticity really means. So why should you care so much about self-actualization? We see that people who self-actualize are happier in life, they feel more fulfilled in life, and they have moments of peak performance. Now you're sitting here thinking, yeah, but Pascalle, I've definitely been happy in life, and I've definitely had moments of peak performance, and you might be right. However, self-actualizers have those moments way more often than people who don't self-actualize. Self-actualization is really hard because we spend most of our lives in a box. In a box built around us by our parents, by our friends, by our family members, by our colleagues, and often even by ourselves. For example, if I take you back to when I lived my life as an actress, I would describe myself as an actress. If you knew me 6 years ago, I would have said, oh, it's a good thing I'm on stage because I can't do anything else. And I truly, really believe that. Because my whole life, people had sung my praises on how good I could sing, how good I could dance, how good I could act. Anything else didn't matter because I could do this. So I slowly created this tunnel vision for myself. This is the only path that I can walk. Nothing was further from the truth. Self-actualization is a gift that you can give yourself. Now, we all live our lives in a bit of a box, right? Even as you're sitting here today, there might be parts of your potential that you haven't spoken to yet. But why do we do that? Why do we live life in a box? And why do we adhere by these labels? A few weeks ago, I was at an event and I was chatting to this lady for about 2 minutes. And she says, "Oh my God, you're such a yellow." And I went, "What? I'm a what?" She said, "Well, you like talking and you're good at talking, so you are a yellow." And I said, "Okay, you've known me for 2 whole minutes. And within 2 minutes, you have decided that I am a certain type of person. You have put a color onto me, and that is now who I am. If I suddenly start behaving outside of that color that you have given me, then you're like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. No, this is not who you are. Whilst if you would see me at home with my husband and with my dogs covered in dog slobber, I'm very much an introvert. I'm a blue or a green or whichever color you want to put on me, okay? Make it sparkly. That's all I ask, okay? When people put these labels on us, we get stuck in our box. And we want to adhere by those labels for one very simple reason. We want positive regard. We want to be regarded positively. That's a human need that we have. We want to be valued. We want to be respected. We want to be treated with love and affection. Positive regard has to do with how others value you in social interaction and social situations. But there's a big distinction between conditional positive regard and unconditional positive regard. Conditional positive regard is when only certain types of behaviors are acceptable and valued and praised. Whereas with unconditional positive regard, it doesn't matter what you do. I love you for who you are without any criteria or criticism or judgment. And we don't know this, but conditional positive regard is something we put onto other people all the time. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that you grow up in a family where everybody's an academic. Your parents are academics, your brothers and sisters are academics, but you want to be a musician. Yeah? Whole your life, you see that getting good grades, going to university, that is what's regarded positively. This is what people want. This is the ideal situation. That is what success is. You view yourself as a musician, but you feel you have to live up to this. And that's where it starts. And with all that noise, because throughout your life, you're going to get all of that noise, that external noise from people saying, this is what success should look like. You need to be married by the time you're 30. You need to be having 2 kids by the time you're 35. You need to own a house by the time you're 28. All of these rules can apply to us, which creates a big problem in terms of positive regard. So, what does it mean to be yourself in all of that noise? And the sense of self is really hard to describe, what it means to be yourself. When we talk about self in psychology, we talk about the humanistic form of your personality, of your authenticity. And that self is going to be influenced throughout your life in different ways by the experiences that you go through. You and I, we can share the same experience today and have a totally different impact on our life, which will make us take different actions off of the back of that experience. But there are 2 factors that will impact yourself throughout your life for every single person. Number 1 is your childhood experiences. And number 2 is how you're being evaluated by others and how much value you put on that evaluation. That sense of self becomes yours. We need to unshackle that. The sense of self is an interesting concept. Psychologist Carl Rogers actually came up with the self-concept theory, which exists of 3 different components. Number 1, you have your self-image. This is how you view yourself today. As you're sitting here, how do you view yourself? That's your self-image. Number 2, your self-esteem. This is your confidence, your self-worth. How much do you value yourself? And number 3, it's the ideal self. This is what you aspire to be. This is success. This is what I want to be when I grow up. What we're striving to achieve in life is that your self-image and the ideal self get as close together as possible and hopefully overlap. Because when they overlap, we become incongruent. When you're being congruent, you're more consistent in life. We see that people who can be congruent are happier, more fulfilled, their self-esteem is higher, their confidence is higher, and they're more successful in life. However, when there's a big disparity between your self-image and your ideal self, we become unhappy. We become unfulfilled. And it's the cause of many mental health issues. I'm going to take you back to the 18th of October 2018. I woke up in the morning, I was absolutely fine, and I was very much congruent. My self-image and my ideal self, wanting to be a musical theatre performer on the West End, were the same. In the blink of an eye, that changed, and they couldn't be further apart. I became completely paralyzed, I couldn't talk, which meant my career was pretty much over. Suddenly, there was a big disparity between the two. Because the problem was that my ideal self was still a musical theatre performer, but my self-image had completely changed. And it took me a very long time to give myself the permission to change what that ideal self should look like. This meant depression, it meant very, very dark times, but it also meant that I learned the 3 things that you need in order to bring those things closer together and to give yourself the freedom to change what your ideal self looks like. Number 1, you need autonomy. Being able to reflect on who you are, what you want to achieve, and having a curiosity to ask, what else could I do without having that tunnel vision? Number 2, urgency. Using change as a driving force for your life and not backing down from it. Because number 3 is courage. And I don't mean courage to make that change, courage to disappoint. Courage to disappoint and piss some people off. Because when you start living your true life, some people are going to find you very unpredictable. Some people are going to think, what is that person doing? Because you're living up here on Mount Peak Performance, and they're thinking, I want some of that too. But I have no idea how to get there. When you unshackle yourself from the chains of your identity, your opportunity set suddenly becomes boundless. And it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it with congruence and with an eye on self-actualization. Now we're going to come back to that question of who are you? And I hope to God that you don't have an answer to that question today. I hope that you will make it your life's mission to answer that question, to change that question, to challenge that question and find it all over again. Because when you start owning your identity, you take away the power from anybody else to tell you what your identity should be. Because if you don't do that, you will be spending the rest of your life asking permission to be yourself. So where did this end up for me? Well, for me, this feels like a moment of self-actualization. This feels like a moment of congruence, where everything comes together perfectly. But tomorrow, that whole journey starts again. All you need to do is take that leap today. So how would I answer that question of who are you? I have a very simple answer. Hello, my name is Pascalle. Nice to meet you.